Hello and welcome, Saturday Night Live. Well, not the real one, but thanks for joining. If you're here, hello. If you're later, then happy whenever time it is for you watching this later. Um, obviously, tonight Elon Musk is hosting Saturday Night Live, so that's exciting, and it means that I'm going to go relatively quickly and give you enough time to get out of here and get that set up for those of you who still have ability to watch regular television. I know that's a big scramble for a lot of people, but we've still held on to cable for some reason. That'll probably go away when we get Starlink. We're signed up for that, so hopefully someday. Sorry if that was loud. I just hit the microphone. But anyway, so that's exciting. Elon's going to be on Saturday Night Live. That could be great. It could be super awkward, but it will probably be worth watching. I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping it's not all cryptocurrency jokes. But a cool thing, if you've been on Twitter in the last 24 hours, you've seen that the Cybertruck is not only being displayed this weekend in a Tesla store in New York City, it was also driving around last night. And Tesla, I don't know if this will work pulling this up, but I'm going to try to share my other screen and see if, I don't know, it looks like you are just seeing my desktop and not the actual video Tesla posted. So let's get out of that because now my mouse is being screwy. Where are we? There we are. All right. Anyway, if you haven't, check out Tesla's Twitter page and see some of the cool footage of the Cybertruck driving through downtown Manhattan, and it's pretty cool. And just close that on my screen so it's not in my eyes the whole time. But Cybertruck came up on stage a year and almost a half ago now, probably more than a year and a half ago now, and looked totally bonkers. And I was like, what in the world is that thing? It took a while for my brain to even wrap around what I was seeing. And then, you kind of just got used to it. And then a couple weeks ago, it was down at Giga Texas and looked really cool and really at home on that job site. And so, okay, yeah, it's a little weird on stage, but, driving around on the roads or on the job site, it looks pretty cool. And then to see it in all the neon of going through, Manhattan, it looks so cool, with the subtle reflections and everything on it. So I'm hoping there's a bit or something they do with Saturday Night Live. I'm assuming there will be. That might be part of the reason it showed up there kind of late this week is, maybe that was one of the pitch sketches on Monday or Tuesday, and then, take a couple days to get it up there. And while it's there, may as well display it in the, I think it's the Meatpacking District Tesla Service Center, and or showroom, probably showroom. But yeah, so that was super cool. And even if it's just that shot that's on Tesla's Twitter account, that's a really, really cool shot. And then there's a bunch of other people, just random people on the street who also, took video of it going by and things. So if you haven't seen that yet, check it out. It's very cool. Other news or, kind of cool things that are happening. The English can't come out of my face. I've just cut out coffee the last couple days, and this is day 2, and that's usually kind of the hardest day to get through that caffeine slump. So I'm powering through, and going to stay up late tonight and hopefully stay on the wagon this time. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But another cool thing is the administrative law judge in Minnesota ruled that the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency does have the authority to enact the Minnesota Clean Cars rules. And that's basically Minnesota joining with, I think it's 14 or 16 other states now, joining with the California emission standards. And so there's a lot behind that. I've done some really deep dive videos on it, but essentially that's we have to do California's because the way the overall law, the federal law, is written, you either go by the federal standards or you go by California standards. And you can do one or the other. You can't make up your own. So we're a little, stuck to, either we follow California or we don't. So, that's been a big topic for people, naysayers, is, California is telling us what to do. Look at the problems California has, all the, it's just kind of become a boogeyman. But the administrative law judge ruled that it's they followed all the procedures, it's legal, it's appropriate, and I think the next step is just the governor giving it the rubber stamp of, yes, this is a policy we're going to implement. So I think it's pretty much a done deal now. Now, in the legislature, I know, I want to say, can't remember if he's a senator or a representative, Ingebrigtsen, I believe is his name, has threatened to hold all of the funding for the state parks, the zoos, all of basically any outdoor recreation is going to be, they won't approve funding. It must be in the Senate. They won't approve funding unless, we don't do the clean cars thing. So it shows there's a lot of pushback against this, which is unfortunate because I think it's almost, a no-brainer, and really, given the way manufacturers are producing EVs and bringing them to market in the next few years, by the time this even starts taking effect in 2025, it's going to be so easy for 99, I would guess all manufacturers at that point to hit those targets. What makes it important is that not that the manufacturers won't hit those targets on their own, but they might not hit them in Minnesota. And so what we're seeing now is the rules are more stringent in Europe and other places in the world. And so they come up with these great new EVs and send them away, or send them to the states that do have these rules in place. And this just kind of puts Minnesota's hand up and says, hey, we want in on that. We want the best new cool cars, with the best specs and, best emissions, standards here. So it's a multi-year rollout, and the goals increase every year. But really, it doesn't start till 2025, and they can start banking credits even as soon as it goes into effect. They can start banking credits ahead of time for that 2025 rollout. So should be a piece of cake for people to hit. There's a lot of pushback, but I think it's a good move, and I think a big win for cleaner air and sustainable transportation. And it also sends a signal, if this goes through, it can open up the door for some other legislation that's kind of sitting on the sidelines, I think waiting to see what happens here and maybe to see what the federal government does on a few things. But the dealers and some environmental people are working on another bill to be proposed to add incentives to Minnesota to help people purchase EVs. That takes some of the burden off of dealers to swallow the whole cost. And I think some of that, some funding from that bill would then also go to dealers to retool and retrain to be EV ready, which they're pretty much going to have to be anyway if they're selling Volkswagen ID4s. You're going to have to do that anyway, but this would kind of give them a little cushion and ease it a little bit. Last week we talked a little bit about the dealer in Roseau who was talking about some of the expenses for dealers in getting that training and equipment. Or he was just talking about equipment, not even training, but that's a piece of it too. So we'll see what happens there. There's other legislation proposed about adding even higher tax when EVs get re-registered every year or get the new tags. That would go up a pretty insane amount. So there's kind of a wash of legislation out there, and I think we're going to have to see where the negotiations end up with this now being approved and where everybody ends up coming down. But hopefully we can have a sane and sensible debate based on facts and not just what people think. Everybody thinks they're an expert, right? Everyone's an expert. So I've tried to do my due diligence and read through all the stuff from the Pollution Control Agency. It seemed legit to me, but hopefully it's a good move for Minnesota long term, and we can kind of start cranking the wheel over and getting more and more people into EVs. I just talked to a neighbor tonight who was asking about, our power setup with the utility and, how many amp service we had to have in the garage and things. So, it's good to have those conversations as you're out walking as the weather gets nicer. So that's pretty cool. And speaking of that kind of dovetails into another topic that I've been thinking about, and that's the Minnesota Auto Show. I think that starts next weekend. I think it's the 15th. I can't remember what the date is. That must be Friday. Yeah. But anyway, that's coming up, and last year I volunteered one of the days in the EV area, so I got to go in for free and talk to people about EVs, and that was great. But because Tesla doesn't have a dealer network, the auto show is put on by the dealer association, and so there weren't Teslas there, and I would talk about them because that's my experience, but it kind of felt like you were saying a dirty word to some of the people. Not some of the attendees, but just, kind of felt awkward. So this year I was thinking of doing that again, volunteering. I've got too many personal commitments to make that happen. But I'd like to, part of me wants to go and hang out in the EV area for a short amount of time, whatever I can squeeze over there. But it's pre-orders are $15 for adults, or 16 and over, and then $20 at the door if you get tickets there. And I could take my daughter, and it would be free for her. But given the immense amount of pushback by the dealer association against clean cars, I don't know if paying them to go and talk to people in the EV area is worth it. On the other hand, if there are people there who are anxious for information and, want to know what it's like from real owners, I feel like there's kind of a responsibility there too to go if I can and talk to people, show that people are interested in that part of the show. Just adding more foot traffic, even if I don't talk to people or nobody wants to hear what I have to say, which is fine. But even if that's the case, just showing there's more foot traffic in the EV area, might make that a more prominent space the next year. Last year they had a really nice setup with test drives. I got to test drive the e-tron, Audi's SUV, and it was pretty good. Not a vehicle for me, but I think if you liked Audi, not that I don't like Audi, but it's just not the type of vehicle I need. But if you like Audi, you would love the e-tron. So I think that was great. They were doing test drives there. And then I think they also had a Bolt and a Leaf, maybe. I can't remember. So it'll be interesting to see what they have there this year. But still, I'm kind of like, because my schedule is a little tight, I'm debating, is it worth paying them to just show up and then, giving them more money that they can put out, negative stuff about EVs or, clean cars. And, so a little torn on that this year. But if you have a suggestion or if you're volunteering or going, let me know either in the chat or in the comments afterward, and I'll take a look at those. But it would be cool to see more EVs, and we'll see what they have there. If I can't go, I'm going to talk to some people who were able to and see what their experience was. Before I forget, I also want to say a huge Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. You guys do a fantastic job. It's a very difficult job being a mother, and there's a lot of worry and love and effort that goes into raising a child from both parents. But happy Mother's Day, and I hope you have a wonderful day and your family makes it wonderful for you. So today is tomorrow is Mother's Day, and then next week I've got some other commitments, so might not be able to do a live stream on the 15th. And then the following week will be the Tesla Sound of Silence rally in South Dakota. And we'll be going out there, leaving here Thursday night, staying about halfway that night, then taking kind of a slow, maybe through the Badlands, different kind of route to get to Custer for the Sound of Silence rally. But we'll be there all weekend, so I'm going to be making a lot of content, but almost assuredly will not be doing a live stream while I'm there. But I will be filming. We'll do a road trip video. I'm hoping to do some kind of interview style stuff. Get some, maybe talk to some people about how, what their favorite apps are and what they like about them, what features they like about them, because there's a lot of talk of which ones people use and why. The people who love to do racing, or the people who love to get every bit of charging excellence out of every charging stop and want to make sure their battery's right at the right temperature. I am not one of those people. I'm relatively laid back in that avenue, but everybody's got their thing. So that would be an interesting thing I'd like to hear people's opinions on. And then another thing I'd like to do is talk to some of the women out there and how they were convinced to get an EV and what they think the best way to approach getting more women interested in the EV space is. So we'll see how that ends up. I might have my wife do those interviews, so it's not some creepy dude coming up and be like, "Hey, let me talk to you about your car." But I think everybody's going to be there for the right reasons and in a good spirit to talk about EVs. So we'll see. If another topic comes up, maybe tires or something, we'll see. I'll maybe come up with a list of questions as we're driving out there and see who wants to talk about what. So if you're going, or if you're going to, if you have questions you'd like me to ask other owners, let me know again in the chat or in the comments, and I will pass those questions along. Those are kind of the big topics I wanted to talk about. And I got one more. Okay, we're doing okay on time here. Just had to check. I don't want to. I know no one's going to stay here when Elon's on stage. And I know there are a couple other channels doing like watch party kind of streams. So that's fun. I'm just going to watch it myself, not see anybody's live tweets. This is kind of like when a new movie comes out that I really want to see. I want to see it myself first, make my own, get my own impressions, and then see what other people have to say after the fact. So I'm going to try to turn everything else off and just watch the show and hope for the best. Excuse me. One more. Again, excuse me. So there's one other thing I've been thinking about a lot lately, and I don't want to. I don't mean for this to be a really heavy topic, but we always hear the phrase "children are the future," and I don't think that's really true. I mean, obviously they will grow up, and we will, pass on, and sunrise, sunset, all of that stuff. Heavy topics, dry your throat out. But what seems to happen, and I know this has happened in my life, is you hear this kind of mantra of, children are the future. At your graduation, you hear, you're the future. You're going to go out and make great things happen. And then you go to college and you're working hard to try to, learn a skill or a trade or something. And about that time in your life, you're trying to, make your way in the world. And you meet somebody, you get married, you by 30 you're married and have maybe a kid or a couple kids, and sorry if that came through. I thought I had it muted. But by 30 you've got a kid, and you're trying to make your career so you have enough money to survive and then maybe do some of the extra stuff you want to do with your life. And, once you have kids, then you start hearing that about them, is that children are the future. And you're so busy providing for them, trying to give them a good life, that you never really get a chance to make changes or try to make changes in the world because you're so wrapped up in that. And so by your mid-30s, the children are the future isn't you, because your back starts hurting and you're not in as good a shape as you used to be. and you see the great things your own children are doing. And it's easy to, let that kind of shuffle off ourselves and be put on our kids. So we say, we see their kindergarten graduations now that they have, and grade school and high school graduations. Your generation is the future. You're going to make these great changes in the world. And kind of whatever happened to that generation before, what happened to us. And this really struck me a few years ago. If you've watched the channels, any of our family road trips or anything, my daughter has special needs. And it's fine. It's great. She's happy, healthy, very generally happy, and most days really pleasant to be around, like any kid. But, I had this realization that I'm not going to have grandchildren. And that really hit me that, we always think that part of that, children are the future, is we're going to do a little better, then our kids are going to do a little better. And our by the time our grandkids are growing up, things are going to be fantastic. But like I said, life gets in the way and we don't make those changes necessarily. And so that's when, when I had that realization, it was a wake-up call that I'm not leaving behind anything that's going to change the world for the better. So unless I start putting my effort into it, it's not going to happen. Not that my daughter wouldn't love to do that, but it's not within her current capabilities to make those kind of changes, other than bringing joy to people's lives, which is a very valuable thing. But even, once we're gone, she's going to have needs and need to be taken care of and everything. So, that kind of also adds a little bit to it, where you're leaving, again, somebody will bring lots of joy to other people, but will also need other people to help her in the future. And so instead of leaving a net positive, that sounds bad, but I hope you understand my meaning, that, I'm leaving something behind that will use more resources in the long term. And also with her needs, and we're still working on potty training, and so we've gone through years and years of diapers, which is a huge waste, a huge environmental impact that we're creating. And so that's why, again, it kind of hammers home we're making this net negative environmentally. So how can we change the world for the better, and there's no one left to do it if we don't? Now, I don't know if we're going to achieve that, but that's how I got so passionate about, the clean cars things, about the Well Done Foundation, and, plugging those, dead oil wells that are just spewing methane. That stuff, if we can, our generation start to tackle those problems, that will make real change. And, we can be the future. We can build that better future, instead of leaving it to our kids. And then our kids can take it up from there and say, boy, they didn't do a great job. We'll do an even better job. And that also, by tackling it as best we can, it sets that example for our kids that they are the future to take over the good work that we've started. So hopefully that makes some sense. I think it's just, as we're coming close to graduations, I'm hearing a lot of those sentiments about, and kids can do great things. I used to do an event for the National Youth Leadership Council, and they would have, I think that's the name of it. And they had youth leaders who did like service learning projects in their high schools and stuff, and would come to these events every year, and just really talented, passionate kids who want to make a difference in the world, and it was really inspiring to see. But they need guidance from their parents, and it's so easy to get sucked into that cycle of, I got to get my head down and make money so I can provide for my young family, and then, my kids are the future. And I'm going to go sit in my rocking chair now and be done. So, excuse me. I don't know if that's muting or not. I apologize if it's not. But anyway, I think, it's tough. We all have very busy schedules, and it's, really tough, especially if you're trying to raise a family at the same time. It's hard to do those extra things. But, I think it's important to try to do whatever we can and make us be that future. I feel like sometimes, and if there's any baby boomers watching, I apologize, but I feel like, in a lot of ways, we were on coast for a lot of years, and maybe our parents kind of got into that cycle of, just, in the 60s, everything was, we're going to change the world. Oh, I got to get a job and like make some money. And, now I'm, it's the 80s, and I'm, I got kids I got to worry about, all that. And, I'll let them handle it. And it kind of feels like, to some degree, that's kind of happened in the past. So anyway, I don't mean to be a bummer. I just think, as we hear those refrains through graduation season of children of the future, remember that was said about us too. And we can still do great things with the time, hopefully a lot of time that we have left. We can still make a big impact in the world. So I think that's about all I have tonight. Again, I wanted to wrap up a little early, make sure people have time to switch over to SNL or some of the other watch parties. I know David and Eric, I saw on my feed, were doing a watch party or a pre-watch party or something, so they might have some fun stuff over there. And maybe some of the other channels are too, but I'm going to cut everything off and, like I said, just watch and try to get a fresh perspective, see if it's funny to me or if it's cringeworthy. Again, like I said, I think either way, it's going to be pretty interesting to see what they do and see what they, how or if they incorporate the Cybertruck. But I'm pretty sure they will for something. I feel like that would be a pretty big missed opportunity if they didn't. But again, if you haven't seen the video on Twitter, on Tesla's Twitter account, of the Cybertruck going through New York, very, very cool. And like I said, that's about all I have. I might be able to do live stream next week. That's 50-50 right now. and then the following week probably can't. But we'll play that by ear. I'll try to make a post and let people know. But again, happy Mother's Day to any mothers who are out there and might be watching. We got to get more women into the EV world and talking about EVs and enjoying them. So if you're an EV owner and a mother, go for a drive and indulge yourself and go for a leisurely drive or a very fast drive if you want, depending on what vehicle you have, and enjoy your EVs. But to everyone else, thank you very much for watching. Have a great night, and let's see what SNL has in store for us. Have a great night. Thanks a lot, and I'll catch you later. And now the awkward dance again as I reach for the mouse and try to go close out. Have a great night. Thanks again.